Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Wanted to follow up a bit on Sunday's sermon, and I think it was a passage that really hit a lot of us when we think about this contrast between Martha, who's running around, who's distracted, who's anxious, who's worried, who's blaming, who's demanding, and we see ourselves there. We don't want to be there. We want to be where Mary was. We want to be sitting at Jesus' feet. We want to be receiving from him, learning from him, giving ourselves to him, abiding with him. And so I think it connected with a lot of us, but I think it also raised some questions. How do we do this? And we touched on that a little bit, but I just want to expand on it a little bit as well here, and specifically the idea of, okay, but what about all the things that I need to do? And that almost, I think you want to catch yourself there, because it's easy to say, but what about this, and what about that, and what about, and one thing I would say is just be careful. If the what about comes too quickly, it might indicate that, man, you do see those things as so important and so needful, that Jesus is kind of secondary. Spending time with him, being with him, communing with him, abiding with him, that's not as necessary. And we want to reverse that and say, no, this is what's necessary. Jesus, spending time with him, knowing him, learning from him. That's the one necessary thing. So that was the big point of the sermon. So be careful if the what about comes too quickly. But at the same time, there are things that need to be done. We all recognize that, right? Like, God has called us to serve one another in love, right? Jesus washed his disciples' feet and said, hey, as I've done, you should do to each other. And he's called us to be faithful parents and husbands and wives, and he's called us into vocations where we serve people with our work. And there's all sorts of ways that we love people that are very concrete and practical and take time, and we do tasks in order to love people, right? So what about those things? How do they fit in? Are we saying that we should just all be monks and, go off and sit in some, mountain cabin and just read the Bible and pray all the time and meditate? And I think we all know, no, that's not what God's calling us to. But we also have to recognize that we maybe don't err on that side, right? Most of us err on the other side of being far too busy, of putting far too many things in the necessary place. So how do those fit together, I guess, is the question we want to address, right? So let me just say this. I think first, there needs to be a kind of priority put on Jesus and time with him, right? So I was talking with Nicole about this, and she was reading something, and they talked about the idea of worship leading to work. And so often we go to the work first and getting things done, and then our minds can be at peace. And the call is to worship first, to commune with Christ first, to abide in him first, and then the fruit flows from that. And so there needs to be a priority. And I would say make it a priority in your schedule. Like, find ways to put Jesus first in your schedule. Because that's where I'm at. Like, I need to set, and there's no law about this, but like, man, I need to set my heart early in the day, in the morning. I need to get my heart set on Christ then. And from that flows the rest of my day, flows my perspective, my attitude, my mindset for the rest of the day. And so I just say you want to make it a priority. And then again, all of it needs to then flow from that. So yes, you go do those things, but when we first commune with, sat at Jesus' feet, learned from him, received from him, then we're ready to do our work, do our tasks in worship of God and love for other people. And the other thing I would say is, most of us probably, I know I do, it would help me a lot to slow down in the middle of my day. The ancient Jewish practice was to pray 3 times a day. And again, it's not a lot, but boy, I think a lot of us would be helped by stopping, slowing down at different points in our day, and spending time with Christ, learning, receiving from him, remembering what he's done for us, thinking on who he is, spending time in prayer, meditating on a Bible verse that we're memorizing, like finding ways repeatedly throughout the day to commune with him, to settle our hearts down again, to reorient our hearts again, so that our work, all the tasks we need to do, are again not from a place of frantic worry, distraction, blaming, demanding, but from a place of rest in Christ. And so it's very different. And let's be honest, I think most of us know when we're Martha, right? Sometimes it's very clear that we've strayed into that area of being distracted and anxious and worried and blaming and demanding, and we know that, right? And so there's something very different when we're resting in Christ, when we've spent time with him, when we're commune with him, when we're satisfied and content in him. And so, again, just seeing what's our priority, what's most important. And here's the deal. If you commune with Christ first, if you sit with him and learn from him and receive from him first, you will be better. You will be more equipped and ready to then go do the task, to serve people, love people in very practical ways. You'll be a better mom. You'll be a better employee. The fruit will come out of your life as you first worship and then work. So there's more to talk about with this, and I'd encourage you to do that. Like, get this discussion going about what it looks like specifically in your life, because I'm talking broad, but what does it look like in your life, in your schedule, to put Christ as the one necessary thing? So hope that's helpful, and again, just keeping the discussion going. But love you guys. Take care.